In this episode of Bake Across Europe, we're traveling to France to make a French lemon tart or a tarte au citron. This is a sweet pastry crust shell filled with a rich, silky lemon curd filling. It is the perfect dessert to bring to a summer get-together. It is fresh, flaky, and delicious. Join me today as I show you how to make the recipe, and stick with me throughout the video as I share with you the history on why this lemon tart may not be so French after all. First, we're going to start by making a sweet tart crust, which in French is called a pâte sucrée. So to a food processor, or you can do this by hand, add 1½ cups or 180 grams of all-purpose flour, 2½ tablespoons or 15 grams of almond flour, 6½ tablespoons or 50 grams powdered sugar, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Give that a quick pulse, and then add 7 tablespoons or 100 grams of unsalted butter. Pulse until it resembles wet sand, and then add 1 whole egg. Pulse until it comes together into a dough, and then knead the dough a couple of times on the countertop before wrapping in plastic wrap and letting it chill in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. After that, you're going to roll out the chilled dough to fit a 9-inch tart pan with a removable bottom. While I'm working on rolling out the dough, I'll tell you a little bit about the origins of the tarte au citron. Although we call it a French lemon tart, and it is very popular in French bakeries, some historians say that it was not the French who invented lemon curd, but actually the English Quakers, as it was an integral part of their cuisine. They would eat it as a side dish, a spread, or as a pudding. They referred to it as lemon butter, though in 17th and 18th century cookbooks you'll also see it referred to as lemon cream. An American woman who ran a pastry shop in Philadelphia named Elizabeth Goodfellow is said to be the first to write a recipe for lemon curd in a pastry shell like today's lemon tart recipe. Now, looking back at the dough here, you're going to roll out the dough until large enough to fit your tart pan. An easy way to pick it up is with your rolling pin. Patch together little spots that rip so it doesn't fall apart when you pick it up. Make sure to tuck the pastry into the edges of the pan so there are no gaps between the pastry and the pan. Then cut off the excess dough and press the remaining sides into the fluted edges. After that, press your fingers along the top to make a nice even edge. Now, the funny thing is when I was looking into this Elizabeth Goodfellow, who was said to have written the first lemon pie recipe, I could find no record of this recipe anywhere on the internet until I stumbled onto an online encyclopedia and discovered that all of these websites crediting this recipe to her were calling her Elizabeth Goodwell and not Elizabeth Goodfellow. So it's just so interesting, and it shows why primary sources are just so important. Then you're going to do what's called docking the pastry, which means you poke shallow holes in the pastry bottom to prevent it from puffing up during baking. You can use a docking tool or just a fork, like I did. Then we're going to blind bake the pastry, which means bake it without a filling. To do this, you will need parchment paper and some kind of weight like pie weights or an uncooked bag of beans or rice. You'll notice that I crumbled my parchment paper first. This helps the weights get all the way to the edges of the tart pan. Then in a 390° Fahrenheit or 200° Celsius preheated oven, bake for 15 minutes with the weights in, then remove the weights and bake for another additional 10 minutes. You can cover your tart shell with foil if your edges are browning too quickly. Then place the tart shell on a cooling rack and let cool completely before filling. Now we're going to get started on the lemon curd. To a heavy bottom medium saucepan, add 1 cup or 237 milliliters of fresh lemon juice, 1.5 cups or 315 grams granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons lemon zest, and then whisk until fully combined. Then add in 6 whole eggs plus 6 egg yolks. Yes, I know, this is one decadent recipe. Whisk really well to incorporate. I ended up switching over to my more powerful whisk because I wanted the whites fully incorporated with the yolks. Then stir in 24 tablespoons or 340 grams of unsalted butter. You heard that right, that's 2 tablespoons of butter for every egg. They do say the French love their butter. Then you're going to whisk continuously over medium to medium-low heat as the butter melts and the mixture thickens. Don't stop stirring because you don't want your mixture to split. Keep stirring until the mixture becomes thick and can briefly hold its shape on the surface when dolloped. Make sure it's thick enough or it won't set in the oven. In hindsight, I wish I'd let mine thicken just a tad bit more. Now going back to whether or not this is an English or a French invention, even the Larousse Gastronomique, an encyclopedia on French gastronomy, refers to lemon curd as lemon curd using the English words, and they describe it as une spécialité anglaise au citron, an English lemon specialty. So there we go. It does stem from the English and not the French. Now strain over a fine mesh sieve into a bowl to sift out any eggs that may have curdled. Give it a stir and then pour it into your fully cooled tart shell and smooth the top. Depending on the depth of your pan, you may end up with a little extra lemon curd. You can save it in a covered container in the fridge and enjoy it on toast or scones. Then bake in a 350 Fahrenheit or 180 Celsius preheated oven for 5 minutes. Allow it to cool on a rack and then refrigerate until fully chilled through. About 4 to 6 hours, or it's just best left overnight in the refrigerator. Once chilled, you can decorate it if you like with fruit, powdered sugar, whipped cream, or wherever creativity takes you. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed the recipe. Let me know if you give it a try. And did you know that this wasn't actually a French invention, but rather an English? Let me know in the comments below if that was new information for you. And if there's any recipes from Europe that you'd like to see me make in a future video, please let me know below. And if you want to see what I'm doing between videos, follow me on social media. I'll link all of my accounts. And make sure to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you next time.